Have you ever felt like your brain just won't shut up? Like there's this non-stop voice in your head saying, what if it all goes wrong? Or, what will people think? Or, what if I mess this up again? You try to silence it, but somehow it just gets louder. If that sounds familiar, then today's deep dive is for you, because we're breaking down a book that teaches you how to control that noise instead of drowning in it. Welcome to Deep Dive, the place where we explore books that change how you think, feel, and live. If you're tired of overthinking and want your mind to finally calm down, stay till the end. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, because every week we dive into ideas that clear the fog inside your head. Today's book is Think Straight by Darius Foroux. It's about learning how to think better instead of thinking more. Darius says the human mind is the most powerful tool we have, but if you don't control it, it turns against you. We think about everything all the time: work, money, the future, other people's opinions, and that non-stop thinking creates a mess inside. It drains your energy, confuses your direction, and makes you feel stuck even when nothing's actually wrong. He says something brutally simple: if you don't clear your thoughts will control you. You've got to become the master of your mind, not its servant. Think about it. When you face a problem, your brain starts running in 10 directions. What if this happens? What if that fails? But a clear thinker doesn't do that. They just ask, what's in my control right now? And focus only on that. The truth is, most people aren't in control of their minds. Their minds are in control of them. We think we're steering the wheel, but half the time we're on autopilot, running on programming we picked up from childhood, society, fear, and past experiences. That's why we feel mentally tired all the time. Darius puts it cleanly: the quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. If your thoughts are messy, your life will be messy. But once your thinking clears up, life feels lighter, calmer, easier to handle. Now, clear thinking doesn't mean you suddenly have all the answers. It means you know which questions actually matter. When your attention is on the right things, your energy stops leaking into useless directions. The real problem isn't overthinking. It's thinking about the wrong things. We keep replaying old mistakes or worrying about futures that don't even exist yet. Clear thinking means quieting that noise and keeping only the thoughts that actually help you move forward. So where do you even start? Darius says you start with a mental cleanup. Just like you clean your room, you need to clean your mind. Sit quietly for a few minutes every day and ask yourself, what's running through my head right now? Which thoughts keep repeating? Are they helping me or draining me? When you start asking these questions regularly, your mind slowly starts calming down. And here's one of his simplest but most powerful tricks: writing. When your head feels overloaded, grab a pen and dump everything on paper. You'll be shocked at how quickly those thoughts lose their weight once they're outside your head. As long as they stay inside, they feel huge and scary. But when you write them down, they shrink. Darius says, writing is thinking made visible. When you write, you give shape to the fog, and that's where clarity begins. But that's not the end of it. Clear thinking isn't just about journaling. It's about questioning what your mind tells you. Not every thought is true. When your brain says, I can't do this, that's not a fact, it's just fear talking. A clear thinker doesn't accept every thought blindly. They ask, is this true? Is this helping me or holding me back? That's where real control begins, when you stop believing every thought and start choosing which ones deserve space in your head. Darius compares the mind to a computer, and most people's systems are packed with junk files. Old memories, unfinished problems, guilt, fear, all of it eating up your mental storage. Until you delete that junk, your system's going to lag. So the first step to clear thinking is simple: delete what doesn't serve you. Let go of the thoughts that do nothing but clutter your head. That's the first big lesson of Think Straight. Clarity begins by letting go, not by adding more. The fewer unnecessary thoughts you keep, the more space you create for peace and focus. And that's how mental calm starts. Now that you know clear thinking begins with mental cleanup, the next step is to notice what you keep feeding your mind. Our thoughts come from what we see, hear, and scroll through all day. Darius says, if you want a sharper mind, curate your inputs. You choose what goes in, and that decides what comes out. It's the same logic as food. If you eat junk, you feel like junk. If you feed your mind trash information, your thoughts turn to trash too. That means you have to use news and social media wisely. Watching every breaking update or refreshing your feed every 10 minutes doesn't make you informed. It just makes you anxious. Instead, check reliable sources once or twice a day and spend the rest of your time building something that actually matters to you. On social media, follow people or pages that teach you, make you laugh or inspire you. And if someone's posts keep making you feel small or irritated, mute them. You don't owe anyone space in your brain. The book also suggests taking digital-free breaks. Try spending a weekend or even a single day without screens and see what happens. The moment notifications stop buzzing, your mind starts craving real experiences. You might read again, take a walk, cook, or just sit in silence. You realize how much lighter you feel when your brain isn't constantly absorbing noise. Then comes the habit of awareness. Most of us react without thinking. Someone says something rude, we snap. We see someone else succeed, we feel envy. We get a text, we panic. But if you can take a 2-second pause and ask, where is this feeling coming from? You change everything. A reaction becomes a response, and a response is thoughtful. It lines up with your values and your goals. If you add small pauses throughout your day, right after you wake up, before eating, before tough conversations, you start observing your thoughts instead of drowning in them. That's mindfulness, and mindfulness builds clarity. Darius then breaks down focus into 3 zones. First, the things you have to do, the essentials like work, health, family, the stuff that keeps your life running. Second, the things you want to do, the hobbies, friendships, learning new skills, the stuff that gives you joy. And third, the things you can either postpone, delegate, or delete, the distractions disguised as obligations. When you look at your day through these 3 lenses, you realize how much energy you waste on the third category. He calls this your mental gym. Just like you train your body, you can train your mind. Journaling, meditation, and reading with purpose are your workouts. Journaling exposes your thought patterns. Meditation teaches your brain to sit still and return when it drifts. Purposeful reading fills your mental shelves with better ideas instead of useless trivia. Now, here's a trap many people fall into: perfectionism. You start working on yourself and suddenly feel guilty the moment you mess up. I should never think negatively again. I have to stay disciplined every second. No, you're human. Your brain evolved over thousands of years to react, to fear, to procrastinate. Clear thinking doesn't mean becoming a robot. It means noticing when you slip and gently correcting it without shame. And that's where self-talk comes in. We talk to ourselves all day, but most of it is brutal. I'm so stupid. I'll never get this right. I don't have the talent. Would you ever talk to your best friend like that? Probably not. Then why say it to yourself? The next time that harsh voice shows up, question it. Ask, is this a fact or just fear pretending to be truth? If it's fear, replace it with something real. I'm learning. I'm improving. That small shift rewires your brain toward growth instead of defeat. This ties perfectly into what psychologists call the growth mindset. Carol Dweck's research shows that people who believe skill and intelligence can grow with effort don't run from challenges. They chase them. If you're bad at something today, that doesn't define you. Practice does. Growth mindset reminds you that failure isn't a verdict. It's feedback. Every stumble is just your brain adjusting to get better. So up to this point, Think Straight has shown you how to declutter your thoughts, choose your inputs carefully, and build awareness so you can respond instead of react. It's about recognizing that you'll never fully silence your mind, but you can tune it to a calmer, clearer frequency. Now let's talk about decisions. Every single day you make hundreds of tiny ones: what to wear, what to eat, what to reply to that message, which email to open first. And then you wonder why you feel exhausted before lunch. That's not laziness, that's decision fatigue. Your brain has limited fuel for making choices, and when you waste it on trivial stuff, there's none left for the things that actually matter. Darius says the cure is simplification. Make the small things automatic. Plan your meals in advance, decide your workout schedule once a week, keep a simple wardrobe instead of staring at your closet every morning like it's a life or death puzzle. Barack Obama did it, Steve Jobs did it, and you can do it too. Fewer daily choices mean more clarity for the ones that really shape your life. Another smart trick he talks about is keystone habits, tiny actions that ripple through your entire routine, like making your bed the moment you wake up, or drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning. Sounds dumb, but it gives your brain a sense of order and control. Once you've done one disciplined thing, the rest of your day quietly follows that rhythm. Then comes the big concept, systems over goals. We love setting goals. I want to lose weight. I want to save money. I want to learn guitar. But goals don't mean anything without systems to support them. A system is the daily structure that gets you there without overthinking. If your goal is to get fit, your system is scheduling your workout at a fixed time. If your goal is to save money, your system is automating a transfer to your savings account each month. Systems remove the mental load of deciding over and over again. They make progress automatic. But even with systems, emotions can mess up your decisions. Anger, fear, excitement, they all hijack your judgment. Darius recommends acknowledging your feelings instead of pretending to be emotionless. When you name what you're feeling, I'm angry right now, I'm anxious, I'm too hyped to think straight, you cut its power in half. Then give yourself a pause before acting. Sometimes just sleeping on a decision brings clarity that no brainstorming session ever could. The Stoic philosophers understood this centuries ago. They said you can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond. That's called the dichotomy of control. You can't control exam results, but you can control your preparation. You can't control how a client reacts, but you can control how solid your work is. Once you focus only on what's within reach, the rest stops feeling like chaos. Anxiety fades because you've drawn a clear line between what's your job and what isn't. And this awareness leads to reflection. Darius suggests a weekly check-in with yourself. Ask, what went well this week? Where did I overreact? Which habits are helping me, and which are quietly draining me? It's like debugging your own brain. You spot patterns before they turn into bigger messes. Self-reflection keeps you out of autopilot and makes sure your actions still match your priorities. When you combine these things, simplifying choices, building systems, managing emotions, and reflecting regularly, you stop running on panic mode. Your mind finally starts working for you instead of against you. Now let's talk about the people and places around you, because even the clearest mind gets polluted if the environment is toxic. You've probably noticed how some people leave you feeling lighter and more alive, while others drain you within minutes. That's not your imagination. Darius says our surroundings shape our thinking far more than we admit. He mentions that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So if your closest circle is full of complainers, gossips, or energy vampires, you'll start thinking the same way. It's not about judging anyone, it's about protecting your mental energy. But when you're around people who are curious, calm, and hungry to grow, their energy rubs off on you too. You start feeling clearer, more focused, and a lot less trapped in drama. That doesn't mean you cut everyone off and live like a monk. It means you build boundaries. You decide when and how you let people into your mental space. If someone constantly dumps negativity on you, you can distance yourself politely or choose to engage only in short, neutral conversations. Boundaries aren't rude, they're self-respect. They protect the clarity you've worked so hard to build. And it's not just people. Your physical space matters too. Look at your desk, your room, your phone. If everything around you is cluttered, your mind will mirror that chaos. But when your surroundings are tidy, minimal, and calm, your thoughts start syncing with that order. Simple things like natural light, a small plant, a clean table, these tiny cues tell your brain, you're in control. Even your digital space plays a huge role. Every time you unlock your phone, you're basically stepping into a storm of information. Notifications, updates, memes, arguments, it's endless. So curate your digital world the way you'd curate your diet. Mute or unfollow accounts that make you feel anxious, jealous, or empty. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Schedule screen-free hours every day, even if it's just 30 minutes. It's not about quitting technology. It's about using it consciously. Darius also talks about gratitude in this context. When you start noticing the good things and good people already in your life, your brain stops obsessing over what's missing. Gratitude pulls you out of comparison mode and brings your focus back to what's real. You can try this tonight. Before sleeping, name 3 things that made your day a bit better. It might sound cheesy, but it rewires your brain toward calmness and contentment. Community also matters. When you share your goals or struggles with supportive people, whether it's a reading group, a gym partner, or an online circle that encourages growth, you stay accountable. You get honest feedback. And when you fall off track, someone reminds you why you started. What's interesting is that Darius doesn't glorify comfort. He says, sometimes the best people for your growth are the ones who respectfully challenge you. The ones who call out your excuses and push you to level up. Those are the conversations that expand your mind. Physical and digital decluttering go hand in hand with emotional decluttering. When you throw out old junk from your room or delete unused apps from your phone, you're not just cleaning your space, you're symbolically cleaning your mind too. You start feeling lighter, like you finally have room to breathe. That's why your surroundings aren't background noise. They're part of your mental operating system. Choose your circle, your environment, and your inputs wisely, because that's the soil where your thoughts grow. Once you've cleaned up your space and chosen your people wisely, the next step is to live with intention, because all the clarity in the world means nothing if your life still runs on autopilot. Darius says intentional living is about knowing why you're doing what you're doing. It's not about some grand world-changing mission, it's about direction. If you know where you're heading, every choice gets easier. Your purpose doesn't have to be poetic. It can be simple. I want to live peacefully. I want to stay healthy. I want to create. When your purpose is clear, saying no becomes effortless. You stop chasing everything and start choosing what aligns with your vision. Vision, by the way, is just your future in high definition. It's you deciding what kind of life you want to see when you zoom out 5 years from now. Write it down. Picture it. If you see yourself as a writer, you'll read more, write more, and hang around people who create. When your vision is clear, your actions naturally follow the script. And here's the part most people forget: energy management. Everyone talks about time management, but if you have zero energy, extra time won't help. Figure out when your mind works best. Some people peak in the morning, others at night. Schedule your hardest tasks when your energy's high and save the easy stuff for later. Eat right, move a little, sleep properly. You don't need a guru for that. You just need to stop treating your body like it's replaceable. He brings up a great idea, meaning over mood. If you only act when you feel like it, your progress will depend on your mood swings. But if you act because it means something to you, consistency becomes automatic. Doing meaningful work pulls you forward even when motivation dies. And when you're walking this path, don't forget to celebrate progress. People are obsessed with milestones. Once I get this job, I'll relax. Once I hit this number, I'll be happy. That mindset kills clarity. You start living in someday instead of today. So celebrate small wins. Finished your journaling streak? Great. Skipped social media for 2 days? That counts. These little victories tell your brain, I'm moving forward, and that builds real confidence. Then there are mind maintenance routines. Darius says to treat your brain like a car. It needs regular servicing. Once a week, check in. Are my habits helping or distracting me? Once a month, declutter your space, your calendar, even your digital files. Once in a while, revisit your vision. Has it changed? Adjust, evolve, move on. But don't mistake discipline for rigidity. Life changes. You'll get sick, plans will collapse, moods will shift. Intentional living isn't about perfection. It's about adaptability. You don't fail just because your routine broke one day. You fail only when you refuse to restart. The whole idea is to design a life that supports your clarity instead of fighting it. You're not chasing motivation. You're building systems that make good choices automatic. And when you live like that, your life stops feeling random. It starts feeling deliberate. When you start living with purpose, 2 things become your anchors: Gratitude and self-compassion. They sound soft, but they're actually your mind's armor. Gratitude keeps you from drowning in negativity, and self-compassion stops you from tearing yourself apart every time you mess up. Gratitude isn't some forced optimism. It's just a daily reminder that you already have enough to start from. When you notice small good things, a friend who checks on you, a meal you enjoyed, the fact that you're still standing, it trains your brain to focus on what's real instead of what's missing. And that shift alone can change how you think. Write 3 good things every night before you sleep. It takes less than a minute, but it rewires your perspective. Then there's self-compassion. A lot of people on the self-improvement path burn out because they treat growth like a punishment. I should never procrastinate again. I should always stay calm. No, you shouldn't always anything. You're human. You're going to mess up, lose focus, feel lazy, say the wrong thing, and that's fine. The real difference between people who keep growing and people who quit is that the first group forgives themselves faster. Self-compassion doesn't mean lowering standards. It means letting go of guilt so you can start again sooner. And when you mix gratitude with compassion, you build resilience. Life's not going to stop throwing surprises: illness, rejection, heartbreak, job loss. Clear thinking isn't tested when things are perfect. It's tested when the world falls apart. Resilience means you bounce back instead of breaking. You see failures as lessons, not verdicts. Stoic philosophy taught this centuries ago. Focus on what's in your control, accept what's not, and keep moving anyway. Stillness is another big piece. We live in constant stimulation, phones buzzing, people talking, music playing. But clarity doesn't happen in noise, it happens in pauses. You don't always need to meditate for an hour. Even a 5-minute silence walk or a quiet tea break without screens resets your brain. Just stop, breathe, look around, and exist without reacting. That's stillness, and it's underrated. Darius also says the best way to understand something is to teach it. When you share what you've learned with someone else, your brain reorganizes the knowledge and deepens it. So talk about what you read, recommend the ideas that changed you, or just write about your experience. You'll find yourself thinking clearer because teaching forces you to simplify your thoughts. These small practices, gratitude, compassion, resilience, stillness, sharing, become the tools that sustain clarity. They turn clear thinking from a short phase into a way of living. Now that you've learned how to build clarity and protect it, the real test begins, integrating it into daily life. Because what's the point of all this wisdom if it disappears the second things get chaotic? Darius says clear thinking isn't something you do once in a while. It's a daily habit. Start with decluttering, not just once but over and over again, mentally, physically, and digitally. Every day, take a few minutes to unload your thoughts onto paper. When you see what's looping inside your head, it's easier to let go of the noise. Once a week, clear your room or desk of things you don't need. Once a month, clean up your phone, delete apps, old emails, useless files. These aren't chores, they're therapy. The less clutter you see, the more mental space you feel. Next, build your decision system. We already talked about decision fatigue, so this step is about giving your brain structure. Set routines for the basics. When you wake up, what you eat, when you work, when you rest. It doesn't have to be perfect, just predictable enough to save mental effort. Every time a new decision comes up, check if it fits your purpose and long-term goals. If it doesn't, it's a distraction. Learn to say no, politely but firmly. Then comes your environment, the silent influencer. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, not drain you. If someone constantly makes you feel small or stressed, draw boundaries. Spend time with those who bring calm or inspire growth. And the same goes for your space. Keep it clean, bright, and simple. Even a small plant, a ray of sunlight, or a neat desk can shift your energy. Your surroundings should support your focus, not fight it. Once your environment is in check, reinforce your routines with purpose reminders. Write your purpose down somewhere you can see it. Put it on your desk, your phone wallpaper, your mirror, anywhere it keeps you anchored. Some people make a vision board, others just write a few lines in their journal each morning. The idea isn't to obsess over goals, it's to remind yourself why your effort matters. And through all this, Keep gratitude and self-compassion alive. Each night, write down 3 good things, no matter how small. If you mess up during the day, don't spiral. Just note what you learned and restart. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about bouncing back faster. Finally, schedule your mind maintenance. Weekly reviews keep you aligned. Monthly declutters clear the fog. Quarterly vision check-ins remind you of the bigger picture. Life keeps shifting, so your systems should too. That's how you stay flexible without losing direction. Clear thinking doesn't mean perfection. It means awareness. When something throws you off balance, don't guilt-trip yourself. Just come back to the process. That gentle return is what makes this sustainable. When all these pieces fit together, decluttering, systems, environment, purpose, gratitude, reflection, flexibility, your mind stops being a battlefield. It becomes a tool again. So we've reached the final part of this journey, and this is where everything you've learned comes together. Because Think Straight isn't just a book about calming your thoughts. It's a blueprint for how to live without letting chaos own you. All those practices, mental decluttering, controlling your inputs, simplifying decisions, setting systems, choosing the right people, managing energy, showing gratitude, being kind to yourself. They're not random hacks. They're connected pieces of one mindset: clarity. You're not trying to make life perfect. You're trying to make your mind steady while life stays imperfect. There's a difference. The world will still throw you curveballs. You'll have bad days, unexpected problems, heartbreaks, random self-doubt at 2 a.m. And that's okay. The goal isn't to erase those moments, it's to move through them without losing yourself. Darius reminds us that clear thinking doesn't mean there's never confusion. It means when confusion hits, you don't panic. You pause. You breathe. You remind yourself, what's in my control right now? And then act from that space instead of reacting from fear. That's real power. And as you keep practicing, something shifts quietly inside you. You stop overreacting to people's opinions. You stop wasting energy on things you can't fix. You stop filling silence with noise. Instead, you listen to your own thoughts, your own voice, your own values, and that's when life stops feeling so heavy. Clear thinking bleeds into everything. Your work, your relationships, your health. You start showing up differently. You become more patient, more grounded, more intentional. You realize you don't need constant motivation when your direction is already clear. But remember, this isn't a one-time project. It's a lifelong practice. You'll fall off track. Your routines will break. Your focus will fade. When that happens, don't hate yourself for it. Just return to the process. Pick one small habit, one small reset, and begin again. That's all you ever have to do, begin again. And maybe that's the real beauty of Think Straight. It doesn't promise perfection, it promises awareness, the ability to see your thoughts for what they are and not become their prisoner. Once you understand that, your mind stops being a storm and starts becoming your compass. So if you ever feel lost or stuck or overwhelmed, come back to the basics. Clean your mental space, simplify your life, focus on what you can control, and live with intention. You'll notice that the world around you hasn't changed much, but the way you see it has. That's the difference between being trapped in your thoughts and finally thinking straight.